The Bell Curve and the Chaos Agent, a statistical comedy. This ought to be both informative and alarming. All right, lean in, folks. Today we're talking about statistics, the practical kind. Not too complex, even for those who have not heard these terms or know what they really mean. The only science that proves if you put your head in the oven and your feet in the freezer, on average, you're perfectly comfortable. Specifically, we're talking about standard deviation and the wild, weird world of outliers. It would be nice to have seen what a normal distribution means and the bell curve, which is in fact a natural occurrence of how all events count data when they are large enough are distributed. It follows the central limit theorem in statistical terms. It is fascinating how nature seems to follow a mathematical script. You've touched on one of the most powerful concepts in statistics. The idea that chaos eventually settles into a predictable, elegant shape. The concept, the boring middle. Imagine a giant room full of people. Most of them are, well, they're fine. They're the mean. They like avocado toast, they find taxes confusing, and they generally stay in their lane. This cozy little clump in the middle is where the normal distribution lives. Standard deviation is basically just a measure of how much of a conformist the data is. If the standard deviation is low, everyone is huddled together like penguins in a storm. If it's high, people are starting to spread out and try different hobbies. It's the math version of a vibe check. The outlier, the party crasher. But then you see him, way off to the right. He's not even in the same room anymore. He's in the parking lot setting off fireworks. This is the outlier. In statistics, an outlier is a data point that looks at the average and says, I don't know her. It's a point so extreme that it makes the rest of the graph look like a flat line. If you're measuring the height of a kindergarten class and Shaq walks in, that's an outlier. He doesn't just change the data, he ruins the curve for everyone else. The political twist. Enter the anomaly. Now, let's apply this to the circus we call politics. Usually politicians follow a standard deviation of behavior. There's a certain amount of boring and predictable we expect. But then comes Donald Trump. Statistically speaking, Trump isn't just off the curve. He's folded the curve into a paper airplane and thrown it out the window. He is a statistical anomaly of legendary proportions. We're talking about a figure so far from the norm that he makes normal political scandals look like a polite disagreement over a tea party. He's so shameless and ridiculous that he has effectively stretched the behavioral yardstick until it snapped. He is a good example of a true outlier, a far-out outlier. The big question, why America? Let's try and answer that. Here's the kicker. America looked at this outlier, this data point representing the absolute basement of human behavior, and said, yeah, give me 2 of those. It makes you wonder if the standard and standard deviation has just left the building entirely. When an outlier this extreme gets elected twice, it's not just a fluke in the math. It's a full-on system error. It's like the universe's spreadsheet got a virus, and now the average is crying in the corner. Conclusion. The moral of the story. So, the next time someone mentions an outlier, don't think of a lonely dot. Think of it as the chaos factor. It's the reminder that the world isn't just made of averages. It's made of the weird, the extreme, and the occasionally nonsensical. And that's the beauty of statistics. It gives us a fancy mathematical way to say, wow, things are really weird right now. Thanks for listening or watching, depending where and how you get this. But above all, on why math explains the madness of Trump. Using terms like outlier, standard deviation,